And now we can talk to Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, Dean of Jindal School of International Affairs. Thanks so much, Mr. Chaulia, for joining us here on RT International. So as we can see, the whole world is in panic. Investors are in panic also about the slowing down of the Chinese economy. So tell us your thoughts, share with us your concerns as to why this is causing so much concern.
Well, for sure, China has become much more central to global finance as well as to equities and to the global economy as a whole. And therefore, when China slows down significantly, as is happening right now, it will have an impact, a ripple effect on commodities, as you just mentioned, and of course on those who export to China, to the Chinese market, and those who have invested in China. A lot of these mutual funds from Western countries have invested heavily in Chinese bonds and as well as other emerging economy bonds. So I think we are seeing a kind of a panic right now, but I am hopeful that it will adjust itself over time. It will not be a race to the bottom. So what I see is that this is the typical reaction of the markets whenever they see a kind of a downward trend, and then they readjust themselves and it becomes more rational. So right now we are at the beginning of what should hopefully be a long-term adjustment process where people are allocating their resources based on expectations of how far and how well emerging economies will do. So
well, certainly this is something that a lot of people are hoping that, as you just rightly said, the markets will readjust themselves as this is something that normally happens, but over a period of time. But what about the regular, ordinary, say, consumers? I mean, should they be worried at all about what's going on in the world?
Well, ordinary people will mostly be concerned about consumer price inflation as well as wages. And those are, in a way, somewhat disconnected because the stock markets were running parallel to the real economies. In many ways, you saw that even at the peak of the global economic crisis that started in 2008, the equities were having a bull run. So, and in China also, you saw actually an extraordinary inflation in the stock market over the last 1 year, and therefore, in a way, this is like a correction, it's a necessary correction. But what we have in the emerging economies is governments that are willing to intervene and have an ability to shore up and to prevent this from mushrooming and becoming larger and affecting the poorer sections of society. So one would hope that through state intervention, we can put a floor on this and prevent it from slipping further.
The question now is, I mean, as to what to do in the times like this. I mean, is there a point in purchasing Chinese bonds now?
Well, the thing is, see, the Chinese growth has slowed down, but it is still going to be above 5%. India's growth is picking up. India is one of the few BRICS and emerging market economies that is doing relatively well right now, and it's above 7%. So I think we still have some bright spots, and if you look at it from a more long-term perspective, we've got the demographic as well as the correct mix between state and market in our societies, and I think we will be able to withstand any kind of massive shock like we saw in the Western countries after 2008. But it is a matter of concern that the emerging markets, some people are calling it, they were a bubble, and they have burst. So it is a matter of concern, collective concern. All of us should come together, especially at the BRICS level. We have now a contingency reserve arrangement among the BRICS countries to protect ourselves from the fluctuations and to, in a way, shield ourselves from the dollar hegemony. Because what the dollar hegemony has done is there's been a lot of transfer of wealth going to dollar-denominated assets and to the U.S. As a result of this, in the last 6-7 years, the dollar is now strengthening, and it's going to have a bad impact on emerging economies and their ability to compete and to create a multipolar world. So I would be concerned also with the political consequences of this and wonder whether there is a deeper conspiracy behind, the steep fall in commodity prices in oil and gas and so on, which have been affecting producer countries like Brazil and Russia in particular. So we will need to watch out. We have to fortify ourselves. We have to create more institutions
All right, Mr. Chaulia, yes, sorry, we have some technical problems there with the line, but thanks so much for talking to us and sharing your thoughts on this current crisis. Sreeram Chaulia talking to me here on RT International.